welcome to the Anomaly Podcast. We are back for part two with Mr. Bill Parker. Thank you for joining us. And if you have not already, please watch part one or listen to part one. Bill has brought in a lot of good information related to his career, as well as talking about what to do during severe storms and weather. And again, I say thank you to you and everyone in your office because you know, in addition to not understanding, the full gamut of meteorology,
Mhm.
a lot of people don't know that, your meteorologists are there around the clock. It's shift work.
24/7.
And shift work alone can be exhausting because your body has to adjust to these different, times being awake.
Mhm.
And I feel like we as meteorologists oftentimes get a bad rep. As soon as something doesn't go the way that we said it was,
Mhm.
people are coming down hard on us. And it's really just because it's not a lot of education out there
Mhm.
about what all goes into building those
The
forecasts.
forecast.
As you mentioned, community engagement, community education is really important to save lives. A lot of talk now, and rightfully so, is around climate change. We're
Mhm.
seeing more severe storms more frequently.
Mhm.
We're thankful that some science and technology has advanced so that we are able to get warnings out, more broadly to
Mhm.
people, and also much sooner, farther ahead of a lot of the severe weather. If you could give one piece of advice to the public when it comes to receiving information and taking action,
Mhm.
what would it be?
It would be prepare beforehand. And when I say prepare beforehand, if you get that information 10 days in advance,
Hmm.
prepare. The information comes 5 days in advance, take action and prepare.
Hmm.
A lot of times people are waiting until they actually see the event
Hmm.
before they move, before they take action. Um, but preparation is so key to survival.
Yes.
It is key to survival. And I'll give you a perfect example. When we issue tornado warnings, the average tornado warning time is like 13 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to use rolling fork as an example. Um, I want to say our lead time on rolling fork was like 14 minutes, 1 minute more than the average. That wasn't enough time. But we were talking about tornadoes 5 days before that event actually happened. We were talking about tornadoes 3 days before that event actually happened. And you got to know where you live. You got to know if you can survive a certain type of event. The majority of our fatalities in that event were in mobile homes.
Hmm.
So if we were talking about tornadoes 3 to 5 days in advance, you should be preparing yourself to get to a place, maybe with a family member,
Hmm.
or another thing that we got to do better in our community is sheltering.
Yes.
We got to have better community sheltering. But get to some place that you can at least survive the weather that we are expecting.
Hmm.
And so I would say is always prepare in advance. And when I say in advance, more than a day in advance.
Right.
Often we're talking about a warning and we're talking about minutes, but minutes are not enough.
Hmm.
We need preparation days in advance.
Thank you for that. And you mentioned the Rolling Fork community, and I do want to take a moment and say, um, our prayers and work continue with that community. There was a devastating tornado that impacted that community earlier this year in the spring, and so I know that you saw the devastation firsthand,
Hmm.
and we even had students that went following the storm to
Hmm.
survey that area. and allowing them to see it. And we touched on this a little bit, but I always want to bring the human side, to what it is that we're doing. And I do believe one of the reasons it was so important to me to have students to see, the devastation being a meteorologist is because I know from the human perspective that seeing these things, impacts how you make decisions
Yeah.
in the future. And it's that constant reminder of why you're doing,
What you doing?
what it is that you're doing.
Hmm.
And that can oftentimes get missed because, especially, like I said, I was doing numerical weather prediction. So most of my work was in front of a computer. And so when it comes to advancing the science, you can get so caught up in codes and everything that you can almost, dismiss the fact that, yes, this is actually impacting lives,
Yes.
And so I wanted to, touch on that a little bit. I don't know where we are with time, and I'm enjoying this conversation, but I wanted to um, also talk about the mental health aspect
Yeah.
of what it is that you do. And as you said, you are a man of faith and a pastor,
Hmm.
which is really important to keep you grounded and able to, again, be human
Hmm.
because you're not just a meteorologist. You are a husband, a father, a mentor, and many other things. So, particularly for other men, other Black men out there, what are some things that you would say have been helpful for you in coping with everyday life, and in addition to seeing a lot of the things that you see and navigating the workspace, being an anomaly?
So y- you have to have the right people around you.
Mhm,
Like you said, I mentors. I've had men and women mentors in my life to speak in my life to
mhm,
encourage me. And as a meteorologist going out, the worst thing is, sometimes we miss events.
yeah,
We got to be honest about that. Sometimes we don't get that warning out that we need to get out.
mhm,
Sometimes we don't get all of the information out that we need to get out to the community. And so when things like that happen, that can be a weight up on you, especially when lives were lost, especially when communities were devastated. Um, because as humans, we make decisions that can be life saving, or it could be a situation where we lose a life. And so you have to be grounded. You have to understand that it's a team process.
mhm,
Usually, it's not one decision maker that's failed. It's not usually one single point of failure. And so you have to recognize that you're relying on a team,
right,
and it's okay. And I've seen this. It's okay to take a break.
yes,
It's okay to cry.
yes,
It's okay to release your hurt. Um, One of the reasons why I definitely communicate and talk to people, especially when I go into an environment where it's been devastated, is because I want to let them know that I care,
right,
and that even though I was a part of the process of supposedly letting you guys know that this event was going to happen,
mhm,
we still care about you. And even through that process, we want to be here to walk with you
mhm,
through that process. And so in my office, a lot of times, even my own meteorologists, we have to give them breaks.
yes,
You know, when they go out and they look at a lot of the devastation, they come back and it weighs on them.
mhm,
I tell, my meteorologists all the time, I said, I remember when I was a young forecaster in Shreveport and I missed a tornado event. Man, I couldn't sleep for days.
mhm,
The radar imagery kept playing over and over in my head throughout as I slept. And so, it wasn't an event where lives were lost, but it was an event where a community was devastated.
mhm,
And so, you know, there is a mental health aspect. There is a wellness aspect to this field,
right,
because again, weather can be devastating.
mhm,
Climate can be. can be devastating. And if you know that you didn't give all of the information, or there was something that you could have given that could have helped,
Mm-hmm.
then that weighs on you.
Yeah.
And so, even going throughout this field, the many years I've put in this field, um, I didn't promote all that fast. It took
Mm-hmm.
some time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the meteorologist in charge, but there were times that, going back to the anomaly, I thought I was good enough,
Mm-hmm.
but because I was different, others didn't think I was good enough. That's another mental aspect that you have to deal with. And so, as a minority in this field,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm just thankful that I've had the right people around me. There were times where I wanted to give up. I wanted to quit.
Mm-hmm.
You bringing up Cindy, she wouldn't let me quit.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Me either.
and so you got to have those type people around you who say, you're not going to quit. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
continue. You're going to press on. You're going to do well in this field, and you're going to be a bright spot in the community. You're going to serve. You're going to do well. You got to have those people around you that's willing to support you, that's willing to encourage you, and give you words of encouragement so that you can keep moving on.
Mm. And, a lot of times we think of mentors as people, who have been where we want to be or in the field for a long time
Hmm.
to get encouragement. But I also want to speak on the impact of going out into schools and speaking to students, whether it's college students or, K through 12, because you all can't see him, but the man behind the camera, Mr. Keon Gibson. He is also a graduate of Jackson State in the meteorology program. And I will never forget when I met Keon and Janae because, not only were they students in the meteorology program, but they are also from Gary, Indiana.
Hmm.
So that's another connection that I have with them. And I always remember that, whenever I talk to students, whether it's Jackson State or anywhere, um, I get this sense of, this is why I have to keep going.
Hmm.
This is who our decisions are impacting.
Hmm.
This is who we want to empower to step in and be those future leaders. Whether it's with a title or just advocating for the right things.
Hmm.
So can you speak to, because I know that you do that. You actually go out a lot and talk with students.
Yeah, and the big key is following your passion.
Mm-hmm.
As I talk to students, I want them to understand again who they are, what gifts God has blessed them with, and how that they can have an impact on society.
Mm-hmm.
As you talk about the young man behind the camera,
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal meteorologist,
Absolutely.
phenomenal, but God gave him a new passion,
Different path. That's right.
different path, new passion, a new way of helping others tell a story,
Exactly.
and so it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I still believe he has a passion for weather, but now he has a greater passion for something else.
Mm-hmm.
But if he wanted to be,
For sure.
and we used to say this, I mean, literally, I've told him this when he was in school at Jackson State. I was like, dude, you could be the director of the National Weather Service. He
Mm-hmm.
has that type of skill set.
Yes.
He has that type of knowledge. He has that type of ability. And so when we talk to students, one of the things I've learned, Jamese, um, is sometimes we want to create the vision for them,
Mm-hmm.
create their path, but we have to allow them as mentors, we have to allow them to find their own path.
Yes.
And if their path is different, if it's an anomaly,
Mm-hmm.
that's okay.
Absolutely. That's
That's
that
okay.
coaching side of it too.
Yeah.
That coaching side of being a mentor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Bill. So many gems, and it's so important to, you know, hear the different perspectives
Hmm.
and talk about, what it is that we do. What I'd love for you to do is to provide some resources.
Hmm.
Um, there are many other topics and questions that I could come up with for additional shows because the community engagement and education piece is really important to me. So I will probably be inviting you back. for, another episode just to talk on that specifically and provide, some of that education that we can share. But what are some of the resources that you can provide, whether it's websites, social media handles? Because in the day of social media, it always makes me proud to see your office doing the live broadcast. To make sure that people are getting the word. When I was growing up, we got it from television or the radio,
Yeah,
but it's so important to do it now through social media because we always have our phones.
exactly.
So if you can just provide some of those handles or websites where people can get information for preparation,
Hmm.
also what to do after the storms, the resiliency piece, anything that you can provide.
Yeah. So the website to our local office is weather.gov/JAN.
Okay.
Um, we also have, you could look up National Weather Service Jackson, Mississippi, because there's a Jackson, Kentucky Weather Service office. But
Hmm.
National Weather Service Jackson, Mississippi on Facebook,
Hmm.
National Weather Service Jackson, Mississippi, Twitter. You get information that way. Um, and one of the reasons that we went live, Jamese is speaking, is exactly what you speak of. Everyone has a phone now.
Hmm.
And I never forget, there was a tornado that was going through Vicksburg and it was knocking out power.
Hmm.
And so they were losing coverage to their local broadcast TV person. But because we were live on Facebook,
Hmm.
they were able to continue to get the information. And we were actually going on for like 10 minutes and coming off. And we start getting messages to us saying, "No, we need you guys to stay on. We don't have no way of getting this information." So social media has been a huge part of what we do in our office,
Hmm.
going live, especially during tornadic events.
Hmm.
Um, but if it's a major event and it's life threatening or it's going to be a devastating event, we've learned to stay on live for like hours
Hmm.
at a time, so that we can make sure we're getting the right information to the right people,
Yes.
so that they can take the proper steps to save their lives and save their property.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, so anyone and everyone should be interested in learning more because, as we mentioned, weather impacts everyone. And whereas we have advanced in science and technology to get the word out there faster, you do need to know exactly what you need to do, what tools you need to have, what are the additional resources, whether it's related to insurance or your state's emergency management. All of that information will help our communities be much more resilient to severe weather. So, thank you, Bill. One last question.
mhm.
Is there anything else that you want the audience to know about you or your career or anything?
I want to give up one plug,
Okay.
okay? 'Cause you may not know this. Um, Jackson State University Meteorology Program. If you're interested in this field, I want to encourage you to consider Jackson State
Mm-hmm.
University's meteorology program. Um, One of the things that um, we're working on right now, as an alumni base, is recruitment. Last year we graduated 7 meteorologists, which was pretty big,
Big, yeah.
pretty big. But we need to bring in 7, and
Mhm.
this year we only brought in 2.
Okay.
And so I just want to encourage someone. Since you're watching me, I'm a graduate of Jackson State University, and if you're interested in meteorology, I encourage you to consider Jackson State University. It's an excellent meteorology program. I went there.
I
Dr.
went there.
Dr. Sims went there. And so that's my last statement.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please apply to Jackson State. You will not regret it one bit. So, well, thank you so much for joining me. And like I said, I look forward to having you back. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.